ECC Timeout talks are brought to you by State Farm. The James Von If Agency is here for the ECC family during these unexpected times. For more information and to get a quote, visit www.vonifinsurance.com.
Hello, ECC fans, and welcome to the latest edition of ECC Timeout Talks. I'm Melissa Riley, Associate Commissioner of the East Coast Conference, and joining me today are Jack Nicholson, former ECC National SAAC rep and current graduate assistant men's soccer coach at Mercy College. He's joining us by phone, and then joining us by video, we have Billy Wildeman, our current national SAAC representative and baseball student athlete at Molloy College. Welcome and good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Melissa. Thank you for having us.
Morning, Melissa. Thank you for having us on.
So we're going to be discussing today a lot about the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, which is the SAAC, which you're both a part of. So Jack, we'll start with you. How has being part of the SAAC and specifically the National SAAC shaped your collegiate career? And then even beyond your collegiate career, how has it shaped your ambition for your actual career?
So I think for me, it was kind of something that I was a little bit thrown into. We had, when I actually applied for it, we had Johnny Galanidis at St. Thomas Aquinas, who was actually a national SAAC rep before me. And having spoken to him, I thought it was something that I would like to do. It would further my college career in general, being a student athlete and learning more about the processes and how to make change, how to make a difference and so on. But it was also something that I thought it could help me towards the future. I knew I wanted to stay involved with college athletics from almost moving over to America straight away, but this really helped amplify that, I think. And then once I got the opportunity to represent National SAAC on Management Council, which is a committee made up of commissioners, athletic directors, SWAs, FARs, and so on, I think I met a lot of amazing positive role models. To name a few, Bob Dranoff, obviously our commissioner, but then also Laura Leishman at Georgian Court from the SAAC, which I know we partner with very closely, and probably Penny Parker down in Rollins as well. I met some fantastic athletic directors and commissioners that really made me want to be able to make the difference and care as much about student athletes as what they do.
That's fantastic. And so Jack, what is your ultimate career goal?
I think being an athletic director is something that really does appeal to me. I know it's baby steps to get there, but I think through being on National SAAC and Management Council, I think I have quite a good knowledge of compliance and things like that. So hopefully I can keep my coaching route at the minute, go into some compliance stuff once I'm done with my grad school, and then hopefully we'll go from there and work my way up to being a big dog at a school as an athletic director.
Fantastic. Great. Well, Billy, what's your role at Molloy and involvement with Molloy SAAC, and what has been your experience so far with the National SAAC?
Yeah, so over at Molloy, back in the fall, I decided to run for president and take an increased role because I just loved the concept of SAAC and how much we could accomplish as providing a voice for the student athletes. And I was lucky enough to win that. And I was lucky enough to now be representing the ECC at the national level, which has been an amazing experience. But at the institutional level, we basically coordinate events, whether it be on campus or off campus, like community service. And I think the best part is that as much as we look for events and ways to get involved, the members within our SAAC are always looking for their own ways, and they come to us with ideas and gauge the interest of everyone else. So it's always good to have everyone involved in that sort of thing. At the national level, so far, it's been amazing. Unfortunately, because of the whole pandemic, we've been limited to these online Zoom meetings. But despite not having met these people in person yet, it really feels like I'm part of a family. I have almost a daily correspondence with a lot of the other national SAAC reps, and it's just been absolutely amazing so far. I can't wait to finally meet them in person and to get to work with some of the issues at the national level.
That's fantastic, and we'll talk a little bit more about the pandemic in a little while. But that was a great segue for Jack. Jack, what were some of the hot topics that in your past 3 years on National SAAC that you discussed with the committee and with your involvement in the Management Council? What were the hot topics facing student athletes?
I think the two that probably resonated the most with myself over the 3 years, and I know the conference bought into both of these sort of initiatives as well, was the talk and the continuing awareness around mental health, and also the total student athlete, the total package student athlete, where it's not just focusing on how we can be the best athletes, but how we can use the resources and the experiences that we have as student athletes to really make us stand out in the further world after we're finished with our education. Because obviously our sport is fantastic, but it's also a means for us to gain a fantastic education. I know within the ECC, within any fantastic institution that we have. But for me, again, the ECC has always kind of been a pioneer for me in terms of how much you guys at the conference office care about the student athletes, but also how much our ADs, how much our presidents also care about student athletes. We've taken the mental health and had our Stop Stigma awareness. And then we also do the ECC SAAC Leadership Weekend, which I think is a fantastic way to encourage and promote personal development. And it creates opportunities to network with a lot of different individuals that who knows where that can help you in the long run. So I think those are the main initiatives for me that I think needed worked on, but I think the ECC is taking tremendous steps in really helping to achieve those goals that we are setting out.
Well, thank you for that, Jack. You've been involved in many of our leadership weekends, our SAAC weekends, and actually this past fall, he was able to present and came in as a presenter, not a participant. So we thank you for being so involved with us with that. And thanks for shedding some light on the hot topics that are facing student athletes. Billy, you had said that obviously you came on right as the pandemic was hitting. So you've seen National SAAC in a different way. Obviously, we're having an interview today through Zoom. You've met your SAAC colleagues from across the country through this venue. But what are the discussions happening at the national level with respect to the pandemic, and really what are the student athletes talking about?
Right. So naturally, the conversations that we normally would have been having have shifted gears a little bit because the pandemic has changed everything this year. But one of the staples is definitely mental health, because especially during a time like this, everyone's routine has been thrown off course. And so the NCAA has been conducting a lot of research as to how that's been affecting student athletes. And then going based on that, how we can get the resources out to help people that might be struggling with their mental health. Another topic is name, image, and likeness. That's definitely a topic that's had some evolution over the past few years. And eligibility changes as a result of COVID-19. A lot of spring championship athletes lost their seasons. And right out of the gate, it was a big question of how is the NCAA going to address the topic of eligibility. And I think that's come a long way since we first got into this pandemic. And I give a lot of credit to the NCAA in handling that issue pretty quickly. So that's been great. And actually, right after this interview today, we're going to be meeting to discuss a new issue regarding the minimum and maximum number of competitions allowed in the season next year. That's another thing that's come up as a result of COVID-19. And without getting too much into it today, we're going to come up with a committee stance, and we'll present that to the Management and President's Council before they vote in a few weeks.
Great. Yes, and I've been involved on several levels with the NCAA, and the focus has always been, as it always will be, is the student athletes. And being part of the National SAAC, you are the student athlete voice. And I've sat in on conventions where student athletes, the SAAC gets up, they speak, and voting on legislative pieces, the stance has changed because of what the student athletes say, because we are obviously all in it for you folks. So that's fantastic. And speaking of the student athlete voice, let's shift gears a little bit to your time, Jack, your time on St. Thomas Aquinas' SAAC, and Billy at Molloy. What are the biggest obstacles you face, especially you're both on the e-board of your institutional SAAC. So what are some of the obstacles you face in this? Billy, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so I absolutely love working with my institutional SAAC, my e-board, Brianna Felice. They're all absolutely wonderful, and it makes my life so much easier having such a supportive group around me. But we're always trying to find new ways to get involved, like I said, on campus and in the community. And I think one of the toughest obstacles is getting involvement. You know, I can speak personally being on a men's baseball team. Sometimes it's hard to get guys on board with, you know, we have to go here, we have to go there. So I always say that I think it's important to come up with events that people want to do, not that they're forced to do or they have to do. And I think we've done a good job with that. We come up with some ways to incentivize things. Like at Molloy, we have our Lions Cup competition, and there are certain stipulations to where you finish in your Lions Cup standings. So if we incentivize community service with Lions Cup opportunities, that can be a way to get more people out there. And it's little things like that that we find can help us have a greater impact in the community. So I think that's really great.
Great. Jack, what about you? What were some of the obstacles you faced sitting on your e-board at St. Thomas Aquinas?
I think very similar to what Billy said, really. I think having the support amongst your peers is a big thing, especially when you're on the national SAAC, you have a lot of commitments already. So maybe taking control of your institutional SAAC is actually quite difficult. So I was lucky when I was at SAAC to have Ryan Mello, a men's lacrosse athlete who took over from me with SAAC, and he made things a lot easier for me. We were in constant communication, but he led meetings, I gave him information, and we kind of went from there. But I also think having the support of your athletic department is very important as well. I know for me, when I was at SAAC, it was a lot easier for me when Lorne Marcus was there. We got on very well, and then I think there was a bit of a gap when he left, and I completely understand that. But then now sitting on SAAC from more of an administrative point of view at Mercy, I think some of the things that we get done there are fantastic, and that's through, I know she's graduating this year, but Jess Brandt, who's a women's soccer student athlete, she is phenomenal. I would have loved to have worked with her on my time at an institutional level as well. Some of the ideas that she has and the willingness to get people involved and have people helping out is amazing. And then you've got Matt Gilcullen there as well, who's really involved with the student athletes, and he wants what's best for them. So I think you can see that the SAACs that do really well on the campus level, there's a lot of support behind them, not only from the willingness of student athletes, but also from administration as well.
That's fantastic. Yes, you know, and as administrators, we all try to support the student athletes and the initiatives that they haven't come up with. Along those lines, what are some of the events or community service or initiatives that you two were involved in that really stand out and make you proud? Billy, we'll go back to you.
So our institutional SAAC, we love to coordinate with other organizations and clubs on campus because, you know, the more the merrier, the more people we can get involved, the better. One of the ones that I absolutely love, because on our SAAC, we have a lot of members that are also members of these other clubs, so it really facilitates that coordination. Our secretary, Matteo Itri, is also a resident assistant in the dorms, and every year he's been sponsoring a PB&J jam where student athletes and residence hall members can come make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and we take them down the block to the nearest soup kitchen. So that's always been a fun thing. People get together. There's the camaraderie of just being together making sandwiches, but it really helps the community as well. On top of that, we really just like to get these other organizations involved, whether it be organizations in the community or clubs. We feel that if we can bring in these other groups and kind of show them that student athletes aren't just the jocks of the school, we're, all people trying to make a positive impact. We really try to do that as much as possible.
That's great. Jack, what about you? Either at your time at St. Thomas Aquinas or at Mercy now, something that maybe Jess and the Mercy SAAC has initiated. Could you speak to an event or two?
Yeah, I'll go to when I was at St. Thomas Aquinas. We used to do a SIDS walk every year for sudden infant death syndrome, which I think was an amazing initiative to get people involved, to bring some I guess good light to a cause that is fantastic and something that requires a lot more funding. So that was something that everyone kind of jumped on board with, and it was really good to see everyone in their numbers out supporting that cause. And then also every year we get in a lot of community hours doing the Keep Rockland Beautiful initiative, where teams will go out and help local communities, help local like care homes, hospices, so on, get some stuff done that maybe they don't have the time to do or the resources to do themselves. And I think it's a very humbling experience for a lot of people, because I think student athletes are extremely lucky to be in the position that they're in, and it is sometimes important to step back and kind of do a little bit for those that aren't quite as fortunate as what the majority of us are. And then at Mercy, I think the CODA awareness stuff that we do, I think that's a very good one, because CODA is a fantastic charity, and it's something that Mercy works with very closely, where all teams once a season will warm up in their CODA awareness shirts, pictures, a CODA walk as well. And I think it's important almost linking with an organisation that is close to the athletic department for any number of reasons, whether it be through a student, whether it be through a member of faculty or a member of staff. But have an organisation that you can work close with and make sure that relationship stays as positive as possible. The NCAA Division II in general has done that with Team Impact and Make-A-Wish, but it's very easy for us to do that on a much lower level, and it's nice to see so many institutions continue to do so.
Thank you for that, and thank you for both highlighting events that really work and tie in the community to the institution and the athletic department. So that's fantastic. Thank you both for all your work with the events and the initiatives that you do. One final question for both of you, hoping that a lot of folks out there and student athletes are tuning in. What advice can you give to them on their campus and on how they can strengthen their student athlete advisory committee? So Billy, we'll kick it off again with you.
Like I said before, I think the biggest part of maintaining a strong SAAC is having members that want to be there and are excited about the power of SAAC, how strong the student athlete voice can be. I think that as student athletes that have exhausted their eligibility move on, it's important that they get replaced by underclassmen who are also going to embrace the process. So, for instance, my personal team, we lost 2 SAAC members last year, and I looked through the team and I was able to pick a freshman and a sophomore that I knew would really embrace the concept of SAAC, and it's been great so far. And I think that's been really important, because when we come together as an institutional SAAC, we don't want anyone sitting in the back just there to be there. We really want to hear everyone's voice at one point or another. And I think personally, Malloy SAAC embodies that. We always encourage everyone to speak up about the things that they like, the things that they don't like, the things that we should work to change. And between myself, the board, Bree, we always find a way to get those things addressed. And like I said from the beginning, I started with SAAC because I was just so impressed at how powerful the student-athlete voice can be. And I'm just so blessed at this point to be working so closely with National SAAC and to continue providing a voice for student-athletes.
Well, thank you, and thank you again for all you do, and we at the conference office look forward to working with you over the next couple of years as our national SAAC rep. And Jack, what advice would you give to your fellow student athletes and SAAC members to strengthen their SAAC?
I think Billy's touched on absolutely everything from the student point of view, but then I think also maintaining an open line of communication between someone within the athletic department that's of a higher level. Whether you are confident enough or have a good enough relationship with your AD to do that, great. If not, I encourage you to create one, because you might have some of these fantastic ideas and be frustrated that they're not getting heard, but maybe we can do a little bit more to kind of get those ideas heard. And the worst thing anyone can ever say is no. Trust me, a lot of athletic directors that I've met within the conference, they want what's best for our student athletes, and they want to hear these ideas. They want to do as much as they can. If it's something that can't be done, then it can't be done. But I assure you they're going to listen to it, and if it can be done, it will be done. So create and keep open a line of communication between you and a senior member of staff within your athletic department.
That's great advice. Well, I do want to thank both of you. Thank you, Billy, and thank you, Jack, for being on today. We appreciate you taking your time out. And ECC fans, thank you for tuning in to the latest edition of ECC Timeout Talks.